This is an exploration of the topic, graphing a compound inequality on the number line. When doing these types of problems, it is really important to pay attention to the wording. There is a difference between and or when dealing with compound inequalities.
What is the difference?
Inequalities that say and represent the idea that an equation can be two things at the same time. Problems that say or represent equations that can be one or the other without correlation. Let's work through some examples. For example, let's look at the equation x is greater than or equal to -1 and x is less than 3. The first step is to graph each part of this statement individually. For the first part, x is greater than or equal to -1, we will draw a solid dot at -1 because the inequality includes -1. We then draw an arrow in the positive direction to represent everything greater than -1. Next, we graph the second part, x is less than 3. For this, we will use an open circle.
Why do we use an open circle?
We use an open circle because x can be any value less than 3 except 3. X can even equal a point infinitely close to 3, like 2.9999, but never 3 itself. What do we do next?
We draw an arrow in the negative direction to represent everything less than 3.
Exactly. The next step is to combine these graphs. Because the original problem statement contained and, we are interested in representing the region over which both of the inequalities apply. In combining these graphs, the region where the two arrows overlap is from -1 to 3. We draw a line between the values of -1 and 3, thus representing the region where x is both greater than or equal to -1 and less than 3. Now let's look at an inequality with or. For example, x is less than or equal to -1 or x is greater than 3. Can you walk me through this example?
First, we would graph each inequality separately. We use a filled dot and an arrow pointing to the left to represent that x is less than or equal to -1. We then draw an open circle and an arrow pointing to the right to represent that x is equal to everything greater than 3 but not 3 itself. Last, we combine the two graphs. Is that all?
Because this is an or statement, there should not be any overlap between the two arrows. Therefore, the answer you got is correct.